Growing up Catholic. When I grew up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it seemed like everybody was Catholic. But in our case, we were Italian too. So when you're Italian and Catholic, it's like a double whammy, really. All the holidays were doubled celebratory, double drama, right? Double traditions. But I loved it. See, for us, being Catholic and growing up Catholic as an Italian involved tradition, involved family, like doing things together as a family get-togethers on a regular basis. We didn't have birthday parties with our friends. It was all with our family. It was all with our cousins and aunts and uncles. Going to church on Sunday was a big deal for the kids. The parents never went to church, just the kids. I laugh about that, but yeah, together with all my little cousins, we would go to church on Sunday. It was St. Rocco's in Union City, beautiful Roman Catholic church. And they would give us 2 quarters each. 1 quarter to put in the basket, all right, for the collection. And then the other quarter was so that we could go to the candy store on the way back home and pick out and buy candy. Of course, that was the best part. There was Mass at the church, and then right after church was catechism. That's right, it was the catechism. And that's where we learned all about, Jesus and Catholicism and why you do things and, the commandments and all that stuff. We learned all of that in catechism. That we would all walk back to my grandmother's house because they're waiting for us. All my aunts and uncles were there also. The women were all in the kitchen, both. The one upstairs and the one down in the basement, all right? I don't know if you know this, but all Italians have kitchens in their basement. But they would be working both kitchens. And there were the men, my uncles and my grandfather in the dining room, and they were all playing cards. They're Italian cards. Ashkop. I don't even know what kind of game is. Something like a rummy. And they were always arguing. Oh my God. Sometimes, I don't want to say fist fights, but it was pretty close. But they would all be smoking like crazy, right? Smoking was such a big thing, all right? Smoking Winston cigarettes, right? And Marlboro. And then having Sambuca shots. That's right, Sambuca and Anisette. And we'd come in, and of course they'd all see us, and the girls would go in and help my mother and my aunts and all in preparation, and my other cousins would then just beat each other up, rumbling and tumbling and arguing. But it was fun. It was family, right? And we would do this every Sunday. But holidays were really special. They were really, really special because it was even more celebratory feasting and the cooking of food. Like there would probably be homemade pasta on celebratory days, like Palm Sunday and Easter, and of course Christmas. The Holy Week was pretty special. It started out with Palm Sunday. The Mass at Palm Sunday was one of the longest Masses of the year. If you're Catholic, you know what I mean. Because during that time, the priest would go through all the stations of the cross. And going through the stations of the cross, for me, was very painful. It was painful. Just knowing of what we did to our Lord Jesus, how we as humans can even live with ourselves knowing what we did to torture this poor man. But that's another story. But my mother, every year at Easter time, she would prep. She'd save and make sure that she had, because we didn't have a lot of money, but she would get enough money together, and she was a great sewer. And she would make a matching outfit for myself and my brother at the time. And it was always, honestly, it was always beautiful. It was almost designer. She was such a good sewer. And we would have our spring coats, the matching spring coats. We would get new shoes and, of course, a hat. The color that was really popular back then, it was in the 60s, was tangerine. Yes, I wanted everything tangerine. My mother made me a tangerine coat, a dress, and I remember going to the shoe store, patent leather Mary Jane's in tangerine. Yeah, I looked like a tangerine, but I loved it. And then the other years, of course, the matching hat or a hat. Remember the little Rebecca of Sunnybrook with the ribbon. And other Sundays where you didn't wear your hat, yet you were supposed to wear something on your head, right? You guys know, right? If you're Roman Catholic, you understand you were supposed to put that kerchief around your head or a little veil or something. So there was the emergency veil. Do you know what that was? It was this, a tissue. You would put a tissue on your head like that, and you would put a bobby pin in it to attach it to your head. I swear, that was your emergency veil. But back to Holy Week. Then there came Friday, Good Friday. And I don't know why they even named Good Friday good. There's nothing really good about the day. Horrible day in the history of man and religion and all that other stuff. But even worse for us, we paid our penance every Good Friday because my father owned a fish store. That's right. And of course, on Friday, as a Catholic, you would eat fish, no meat. So people would put their orders in weeks in advance, and they'd all, we'd try to prep it and get it in because it had to be fresh. So that morning, we all went in super early, like with him, and we'd be cleaning shrimp and calamari and all that stuff. All orders would be ready by mid-afternoon so everyone could come in and prep for their meal for Good Friday. And then Easter Sunday. It was a wonderful day because we got to wear our new outfit, my new coat, my new hat and shoes, right? And we walked with all our cousins to church. And it was a wonderful service. It was a wonderful service because we'd all been through the tough week of learning or that had happened to our Lord. And now we could celebrate that He is risen. So we would walk back, and then when we got to my grandmother's, we all got our chocolate Easter bunnies. Do you remember those? Oh, I remember mine. I loved mine, especially the ears, because I would eat those first. They were gone in about, 10 minutes. I was already chocolate overdosed before we had Sunday dinner. But Sunday dinner, the men were dressed nicely. Just a little bit different. They were nice, a little bit nicer to each other, I think. But they had a lot more sambuca and a lot more anisette. I think we even got to taste some of it. Yeah. Liquor tasting and celebrating with liqueurs in the Italian culture, it's a little bit different. It's more accepted, and it's more of a celebratory thing instead of an alcoholic thing. It just happens to be alcoholic. But our traditional meal at Easter was lamb. But they would prepare it very, very specially. My grandmother was like the head chef, so to speak, and she would prepare it properly in the special seasoning, lots of pepper, and they would put it in a big roasting pan, pieces cut up with potatoes, and I can still taste it today. But I tell you, as the years go by, the traditions faded, everybody grew up, and we moved away. So it was just more difficult to be there together on Sundays, and so that went away. I really haven't been back to church for Easter Sunday in a long, long time. I still give it great reverence, And I still pray. I still pray. I pray for our salvation as humans. And I pray that someday, too, that I will be able to enjoy those good times together with family, traditions of being together. I think I miss that the most. Besides the chocolate eggs and the bunnies. There's always hope. And that's what Easter is about. It's giving us hope and faith and knowing that there is renewal for all of us. Whether or not you believe or practice, I want to wish you happy renewal today. Happy Easter, my friends.